The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a successful film series based on a popular, critically acclaimed novel. Long before the movie was made, the expectations of how the characters would appear, what the locations would look like, and other aesthetics were established. So, to meet those expectations, Peter Jackson, the movie's director, Grant Major, the production designer, the team of art directors, cinematographer, and actors, all had their work cut out for them. What makes the mise-en-scene of The Lord of the Rings so special is the level of buy-in to the vision that every filmmaker who worked on the film had. Peter Jackson, in an interview with Charlie Rose, seen on Manufacturing Intellect's YouTube channel, describes the lifestyle change that every filmmaker committed to the film endured by moving to New Zealand for 18 months. Jackson describes how critical casting was because of the reader's expectations and the need for the actors to be willing to change their living spaces and be committed to achieving something great. He wanted to meet the expectations of the audience, the readers of the book, who had already visualized the characters in their minds, so he intentionally did not go for big stars. He felt as though big stars would create a distraction. We had to get it right. We had to cast people that felt like they had stepped out of the pages of the book, said Jackson. Frodo, the film's main character, he said, was the most difficult character to cast. It was because of Woods' vision of who he interpreted the character to be from reading the book, the way in which he communicated that vision, and the alignment of that interpretation with what Jackson saw in his head that helped Woods land the part. Woods had a look that would fit the part, but he knew he needed more than just his face. To create an audition tape that would look as close as possible to what he thought the audience would deem true to the story from the book, he learned an English accent with a dialect coach, read dialogue from the book, bought clothes that fit the part, and staged himself in a tree. What the audience sees in the frame tells the story of who the character is, and Woods used that fundamental concept of mise-en-scene in his tape. What Jackson saw when he watched it matched his vision. Understanding the importance of infusing with his performance visual elements that the audience will buy into helped Elijah, as Jackson put it, cast himself. The performances that ended up on the screen is the chemistry created from a common understanding between the director, the book's author, the audience, and the actors. Through the aesthetics of its art direction and character blocking, Jackson and company established two worlds: a dark world of the past riddled with war, greed, and the fight to attain the power that exists in the possession of a golden ring, and a bright and colorful world of friendly faces and the desire to protect the ring from the hands of evil. The cold blue introduction of the evil forces and how they came about in the first part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship of the Ring, was designed with dark costumes and dark location and scenery, which allowed the director and cinematographer to use rim lighting to compose frames that resemble some of the paintings of Rene Home. The tone of Middle-earth's Second Age time period is established with dark skies and a monochromatic tone. In this sequence, Sauron, the Dark Lord, loses his ring, which holds the majority of its powers. As the opening scene ends and the early days of war quiet, a new time period is introduced with what is its contrast in every way: vibrant colors, perfectly balanced lights and shadows, warm cinematic interior lighting, sunny skies, festive crowds, hobbits who live in houses with circular doors and windows, and of course, friendly smiles. The ring resurfaces in this world when Hobbit Bilbo Baggins decides to retire from being its protector. The knowledge of its whereabouts begins to spread after Gandalf the Wizard assigns Frodo, the main character, the task of taking it away from the Hobbit to get rid of it. Frodo and his buddies are introduced to the story, each wearing different color vests. These colors upon their chest appear to represent these characters taking a little bit of their Hobbit culture with them out into the world on the journey across the land with the ring. The fellowship of these young men on a mission to protect the goodness in the world clashes both visually and physically with the Nazgûl, whose sole mission is to retrieve from them the ring. Gandalf the Grey goes to visit Saruman the White, The dwelling of the white-haired wizard is cold and blue, linking it to the evils of the past, and he himself starkly contrasts the suggestions of the setting with his white robe and hair. Between Gandalf being here to visit him and Saruman's white clothing, which traditionally in films symbolizes godly power, the audience gets a first impression that he is actually good. However, not long into the conversation does he reveal himself as evil. The juxtaposition of evil in white and good in dark opens the audience's mind to the possibilities that with the type of energies lurking around the possession of the ring, anyone in this story can be trusted and anyone could not. And it is not merely by uniform that one must be judged. The audience must look into the spirit of the individual, which too, because of the ring, is susceptible to change.
I'm sorry I brought this upon you, my boy.
When dark evil shows up, the Fellowship wears dark so as to be submerged into battle with their predators. Rim lighting here paints the picture of the young protectors of the ring as being in unfamiliar territory as they are almost killed. In a desperate attempt to save his own life, Frodo goes against the advice of Gandalf and tries on the ring. Even the powers of the ring, slowly discovered by Frodo, do not save him from the piercing of a Nazgul sword. Rivendell, the place where Frodo ends up after his near-death experience, is designed and colored with soft pastel, like an Edgar Degas painting, representing openness, relaxation, peace, and neutrality. This is where Frodo recovers and reunites with his friends, Gandalf and Bilbo Baggins. This is also where a Da Vinci-style composition sets the tone for a meeting with Elrond, the Elf Lord, to determine what must be done with the ring. This is a peak moment in the movie, which includes much tension among the council about what's going to happen with the ring, and ends with Frodo volunteering to take it to Mount Doom, the only place where it can be destroyed. Like Jesus and his disciples, Frodo and 8 others stand poised for the journey, dubbed by Elrond the Fellowship of the Ring. It is the Fellowship's journey to Mount Doom where Lord of the Rings benefits most from the beautiful landscapes of New Zealand. The stunning wide shots, which include a variation of terrain and weather conditions, add to the mise-en-scene, the establishment of time, distance, and personal bonding. Ultimately, indoors, caverns show a myriad of immense passageways, tunnels, crevices, pits, and columns, and the challenges they face within them range from finding the next way through to fighting an army of orcs, a cave troll, and a Balrog. The most brightly outfitted and illuminated character in the movie is Galadriel, the Lady of the Light, played by Cate Blanchett. She's the only good character of power dressed in white, and her place is the Fellowship's last stop prior to their final battle of this first installment. Her dwelling is ornamented with lights and a spiral staircase, quite the relief for the Fellowship, who needs a good rest before the last battle and the last leg of their journey.
You shall not pass!
The Lord of the Rings ends at a lake during the day. Several men are lost to battle, but Frodo floats on in a boat to take the ring to its demise. The movie won 4 Oscars, including Best Makeup and Best Visual Effects, and at the time of its 13 nominations, tied for the most nominations in cinema history, surpassing James Cameron's Titanic. 2 of the other nominations were for art direction and costume design. The mise-en-scene of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings in particular, helped set standards, break barriers, meet expectations, and provide something very much needed visually for its time. Because of the massive accomplishment through its look alone, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring is one of the greatest demonstrations of mise-en-scene of the 21st century.